It was a sunny morning when Emma woke up next to John. The smell of fresh coffee filled the room, and the soft sunlight illuminated their home, reflecting the happiness they felt. After a year of marriage, each day together was a new opportunity to celebrate the love they had built. Emma got up, stretched her arms, and smiled as she saw John in the kitchen, carefully stirring the pan. He always had a loving way of preparing her for another day of work. "Good morning, my love," he said, turning around with a smile that melted her heart. "Good morning. What did you make?" she asked, approaching the table, which was full of fresh fruit and warm bread. "Your favorite, avocado toast and a strong coffee," John replied, placing a plate in front of her. Emma sat down, admiring her husband. He was thoughtful, always paying attention to every detail. As they served themselves, they talked about their plans for the day. Emma worked at a mall, and John owned his own electronics store. It was a routine they enjoyed, full of support and love. After breakfast, John took Emma's hand and pulled her close, looking into her eyes. "I can't wait to see you again later," he said with a playful smile. "Me too. Should we do something special tonight?" Emma suggested. "Absolutely. It's a promise," John replied, sealing the conversation with a soft kiss. As she got ready for work, Emma felt lucky. Life seemed perfect. She put on a light blouse and comfortable jeans, ready to face the day. But as she left the house, a slight discomfort began to form in her abdomen. Nothing that worried her. It was just a faint sensation. With a smile on her face, she said goodbye to John, who watched her lovingly. He waved as she walked away, feeling grateful to have someone so special by his side. When she arrived at the mall, the day started as usual, but there was something in the air, a strange feeling she couldn't quite identify. Ignoring it, she decided to focus on work, keeping her smile and energy up. It was just another day, she thought, but what she didn't know was that life was about. The day proceeded normally at the mall. Emma was busy attending to customers and organizing the store shelves. The place was crowded, but she enjoyed the rush as it kept her distracted. However, the strange sensation in her abdomen persisted, like a shadow that refused to disappear. As the hours passed, the mild pain started to intensify. At first, it was just a light cramp, but soon it turned into growing discomfort. Emma tried to ignore it, focusing on sales and conversations with her colleagues, but with each passing hour, the unease increased. By noon, while having lunch with her coworker, Anna, Emma could no longer hide it. The pain caught her off guard and made her stop chewing. "Emma, are you okay?" Anna asked, worried, noticing the paleness on her friend's face. "I don't know. I'm feeling strange. It's like something is wrong," Emma replied, trying to stay calm. Anna placed her hand on Emma's arm, offering comfort. "Do you want me to call someone?" "No, it's fine. I'll call John and ask him to pick me up later," Emma said, trying to sound reassuring. She grabbed her phone and, with a trembling hand, dialed her husband's number. As she waited for the call to connect, the pain suddenly intensified, like a wave hitting her hard. Emma began to breathe faster, feeling her body weaken. "John?" she said as soon as he answered, her voice trembling. "I'm not feeling well. Can you pick me up when I finish work?" "Of course, love. What happened?" John asked, concerned. "I'm not sure, but I'll try to hold on until the end of my shift," Emma replied, forcing a smile. They said goodbye, but a sense of panic started to take over her. Lunchtime went on, and while she tried to eat something, the pain attacked with overwhelming force. With each contraction, her body seemed to twist in agony. Emma couldn't control herself, and suddenly she dropped to her knees in the food court, screaming. The people around her looked on with concern, and at that moment, a young woman wearing a nurse's uniform quickly approached. "What's happening?" the nurse asked, her voice calm and firm. Emma, between gasps for breath, tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come out. She just shook her head, trying to signal that she was in a lot of pain. "I'll help you," the nurse said, already kneeling next to Emma. "You need to tell me where the pain is." Emma closed her eyes, focusing on the waves of pain that overwhelmed her. The nurse quickly assessed the situation and, with a serious look, said, "You're in labor." Emma was in shock, her mind spinning. How could she be in labor? She wasn't pregnant, or at least she didn't know she was. What do I do?" she asked, her voice shaking with fear and confusion. "We're going to handle this. I need you to follow my lead, okay? Let's take action now," the nurse said, determined. She quickly cut Emma's pants with scissors from her pocket and used a tablecloth from one of the nearby restaurants to assist with the delivery. Amid the chaos, Emma began following the nurse's instructions, even though she couldn't fully understand the situation. All she wanted was for the pain to stop. The food court, which had once been a busy and joyful place, had now turned into a chaotic scene. Emma, kneeling on the ground, felt the pain growing with every second. The nurse, with her calm and firm voice, tried to soothe her, but the reality of the situation was terrifying. "Emma, focus on me," said the nurse, holding the young woman's hand. "You need to remember to breathe. Breathe in deeply and exhale slowly." Emma tried to follow the instructions, but the pain hit her like relentless waves. It was suffering like she had never felt before, as if her body was in conflict, fighting against something she couldn't control. She didn't know what was happening, and the uncertainty only added to her anxiety. "You can do it, Emma. You're almost there," encouraged the nurse, positioning herself next to Emma and looking around to see if anyone could help. The people who had been eating and chatting before were now watching with worried expressions. Some were already pulling out their phones to call for help, but the nurse raised her hand, asking them to stay calm. "I'm here with her. Don't worry," she said, turning her attention back to Emma. As the contractions grew stronger, Emma felt overwhelmed. It was hard to believe that she was giving birth in such a public place, and even harder to grasp that she had no idea she was pregnant. Memories of her life before that morning flooded her mind. How had she missed something so important? Sensing Emma's distraction, the nurse said, "Now, when the contraction comes, I need you to push. We'll do this together. Remember, this will pass." Emma nodded, but her mind was a storm of thoughts. The pain took hold of her again, and without thinking, she did as the nurse instructed. She closed her eyes tightly and focused, channeling all her energy into that moment. "That's it. Keep going," the nurse encouraged her, noticing the determination on Emma's face. "One more time, push." Amid the cries and effort, something changed. Emma felt a lightness, as if she was finally releasing a burden. The pain began to transform into something different, something that, although intense, was also filled with anticipation. "You're almost there," the nurse said, her eyes shining. "One final push." With the last wave of pain, Emma pushed again, and with a final cry, she felt immense relief. A baby's cry echoed through the food court, and the reality of what had just happened hit her like lightning. "Congratulations, you've had a beautiful boy," said the nurse, placing the baby in Emma's arms. He was wrapped in a tablecloth from a nearby restaurant, healthy and perfect. Emma looked at the tiny being she had just brought into the world. Her heart raced, filled with love, confusion, and deep astonishment. How was this possible? She hadn't known she was pregnant, and now, here was a baby in her arms, crying and looking at her with curiosity. The people around, who had been merely watching, now moved closer, amazed. The nurse smiled at Emma, now with a victorious expression. "You're a mother now. It's okay. We'll call an ambulance to take you both to the hospital." Emma was still in shock, but a wave of love flooded her heart. Everything had changed in an instant, and she realized that despite the fear and confusion, there was an invaluable gift in her arms. The sound of the ambulance siren echoed through the mall as Emma, still in shock, held her newborn in her arms. The nurse had never left her side, guiding her and ensuring everything was fine. The baby was starting to calm down, and although Emma was still scared, she began to feel a deep connection with him. "What are you going to name him?" the nurse asked while helping Emma settle onto the stretcher. I don't know," Emma replied, staring wide-eyed at the baby. I hadn't thought about it. The nurse smiled, understanding that everything was new to her. That's understandable. But the first thing to do is to make sure he's comfortable and safe. As the ambulance moved toward the hospital, Emma looked at the baby who was now snuggling into her arms as if he knew he was finally safe. The pain and fear began to fade, giving way to a wave of love she had never experienced before. Upon arriving at the hospital, the medical team welcomed them with efficiency. Emma was taken to a delivery room where the doctor began examining her and the baby. John, who had rushed to the hospital as soon as he got the call, entered the room with his heart racing. "Emma," he exclaimed, his eyes lighting up at the sight of his wife holding the baby. "What happened?" Emma, still dazed, looked at John, her tears mixing with joy. "John, I had a baby," she said, her expression filled with surprise and emotion. John was in shock, unable to process what he was hearing. He slowly approached, looking at the tiny being in her arms. "A baby? How did this happen?" he asked, still in disbelief. "I don't know. I didn't know I was pregnant," Emma replied, overwhelmed with emotion. "The nurse said it's called a silent pregnancy." John sat down beside her, his eyes fixed on the baby. The doctor, who had been watching their interaction, took the opportunity to explain. "It's rare, but it does happen. Some women don't show typical pregnancy symptoms and may not realize it until the moment of birth." He smiled, observing the couple's happiness. "Congratulations, you have a beautiful boy." "Thank you," Emma and John said in unison, and the room filled with nervous laughter. "We need to pick a name for him," John said, still absorbing everything. Emma looked at John, her heart racing. "I was thinking of naming him James. What do you think?" "James is a strong, beautiful name." "I love it." John smiled, taking Emma's hand. The doctor began asking a few questions about Emma and the baby's health, but the couple's attention was entirely on James. They became lost in dreams and promises about the future, each imagining the life they would have as parents. As the hours passed, Emma felt more at ease. Now that she had James in her arms, the pain and confusion of labor were fading, replaced by a love she didn't know existed. John, for his part, was enchanted and in awe, feeling closer to Emma than ever before. The nurse returned, bringing some blankets for James and checking to make sure everything was fine. "You two are doing great. Now it's time to rest and adjust to this new life." Emma smiled, looking at John and then at the baby. "We're going to do this together, right?" "Absolutely," John replied, holding Emma's hand and looking deeply into her eyes. "We're in this together." In that moment, they knew everything was about to change, but they were ready to face whatever came. The love they had for each other, now magnified by the arrival of James, was the solid foundation on which they would build their new life as a family. The first days after James was born were a whirlwind of emotions and learning. Emma and John, still in shock from the sudden transformation in their lives, worked hard to adjust to their new routine as parents. The nights were long and full of challenges, but the joy of having James in their arms outweighed any exhaustion. Emma often thought about the nurse who had helped during the birth, and a deep sense of gratitude filled her heart. She had become a mother amidst chaos, and each of James' smiles reminded her that despite the confusion, life was a precious gift. One morning, Emma woke up before dawn. The sun was beginning to light up the room, and she was in awe as she watched James sleeping peacefully beside her. The little one seemed so vulnerable and perfect, and a smile spread across her face. "Hello, my love," Emma whispered, gently stroking the baby's cheek. James stirred, slowly opening his eyes as if sensing his mother's touch. At that moment, John entered the room, still sleepy but with a smile lighting up his face. "Good morning, Mommy and son," he said, approaching the bed. Emma smiled, her heart warmed by the sight of her husband. "He's been so quiet. Look how beautiful he is when he wakes up." John leaned in to kiss James, who smiled involuntarily. "I think he looks like you," John joked, gazing into their son's eyes. "And you please don't start thinking it's all because of me," Emma replied, laughing. The couple enjoyed themselves as they changed James' first diapers and got used to his cries. Despite the challenges, every task felt like a small victory. They were learning together and it brought them closer. As the days passed, a routine began to form. Emma returned to work part-time, but her mind was constantly on James. John, on the other hand, became the most dedicated father. He tried to help with everything from feedings to diaper changes, showing immense love for his son. "You did great today," Emma praised, watching John as he tried to put James to sleep. "I think you have a hidden talent for being a dad." "I'm just trying to keep up with you," John replied, looking at her with admiration. "You're amazing." With each new challenge, Emma felt more confident in her role as a mother. Visits to the pediatrician became part of their new routine, and each appointment was filled with questions and concerns. But even so, there was a palpable happiness between them. The love they felt for each other grew stronger with each passing day. One day, while they were at the park, Emma and John saw a group of parents with young children. The laughter and playfulness were infectious, and they couldn't help but dream about the future. "Just imagine James running around making new friends," John said, dreaming big. "And you trying to keep up with him in all the sports he's going to want to play," Emma replied, laughing. The idea of building a family full of love and laughter excited them. They knew they would still face challenges, but they were ready to face them together, always striving for the best for James. Sunday afternoons became sacred. The couple took turns cooking, and together they prepared family recipes. Meals became a special time, filled with laughter and stories about what life was like before James. On that particular afternoon, while Emma was stirring the sauce, John sat beside her and held her hand. "I can't believe how much our life has changed in such a short time," John said, looking into her eyes. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." Emma smiled, and the warmth of their hands intertwined reflected the love that was growing stronger every day. "Neither would I. James is our greatest joy, and I'm sure we'll face everything together." The new routine, though challenging, brought a sense of fulfillment. They knew that life as parents would be full of surprises, but they were ready for all of them, together as a family. As the months passed, James grew and became a central part of Emma and John's lives. His first smiles and steps brought incomparable joy, but the journey of parenthood also brought unexpected challenges. One night, while James was crying nonstop, Emma felt deeply exhausted. John, who had just stepped out of the shower, noticed the tension on his wife's face. "Is everything okay, love?" he asked, concerned. I don't know what to do anymore." "He won't stop crying and I'm so tired," Emma replied, her voice breaking. John approached her and, in a protective gesture, hugged her. "We'll do this together. I tried to get him to sleep, but I couldn't. Let's take turns. I'll take care of him now." Emma smiled, relieved by her husband's offer. "You're the best," she said, grateful. They switched places and John took James in his arms. The baby, sensing his father's presence, began to calm down slowly. John, with the experience he had gained, started rocking him and singing softly. Emma watched, amazed. "You have an incredible talent for this," she praised, settling on the couch. "I'm just trying to figure it out," John replied, smiling. "Fatherhood has its lessons, and I'm learning from you every day." The night passed, and the couple realized that the challenges weren't just physical but also emotional. The sleepless nights and the pressure to be the best parents they could be weighed heavily on them, but they were determined to face everything together. During a visit to the pediatrician, Emma and John shared their concerns about James' growth and their feelings of not living up to expectations. "It's normal to feel that way," the doctor said with a reassuring smile. "The important thing is that you're doing the best you can." and the love you have for James is what truly matters." After the appointment, the couple felt lighter. As they talked about the doctor's advice, they realized that the difficulties were part of the process and that each moment, good or bad, was an opportunity to grow. One weekend, they decided to have a picnic in the park. They packed a basket full of sandwiches and fruit, eager to enjoy time together as a family. The day was sunny, and the children's laughter around them created a cheerful atmosphere. "Look, James." Emma pointed to a group of children playing with bubbles. "Let's go see." John smiled, seeing his wife's excitement. With James in a baby carrier, they approached the group. The baby looked at the floating bubbles with curiosity, his eyes shining with fascination. "He's loving it," John commented as Emma snapped a few photos. The happy moment was interrupted by a small accident. James, excited by the bubbles, wriggled too much and slipped from Emma's hands, softly landing on the grass. Although he wasn't hurt, James' cries echoed through the park. "Oh my God, it's all my fault," Emma exclaimed, worried. John quickly picked the baby up, trying to soothe him. "It wasn't your fault, love. Accidents happen. What matters is that he's okay." Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "I just don't want anything bad to happen to him." John looked at her lovingly. "That's natural. But remember, every challenge is an opportunity to teach him and for us to grow as parents." Soon enough, James calmed down and started laughing again, watching the bubbles dance in the air. Emma and John exchanged relieved, loving glances. They realized that even in difficult moments, the joy of being parents far outweighed any worry. That day, as the sun set on the horizon, Emma and John understood that the journey of parenthood wasn't about being perfect but about being together, learning and growing every day. The love they felt for James and each other was the force that pushed them to face the challenges life would bring. The months passed, and the lives of Emma, John, and James settled into a routine filled with love and challenges. Each day brought new discoveries and moments of joy, but also a growing understanding of what it meant to be a family. One sunny morning, Emma woke up earlier than usual. She watched James, who was sleeping peacefully beside her, and her heart filled with gratitude. She looked over at John, still deep in sleep, and couldn't help but smile. The life they had built together was more than either of them could have imagined. "Good morning, my love," said John, waking up and noticing Emma by his side. "Good morning," she replied, excited. "Today is a special day." "Why do you say that?" John asked, a bit confused. "Today is James' first birthday. We're going to do something amazing." John quickly got up, still a bit sleepy, but the excitement of celebrating their son's first year soon took over. They began planning a small party at home, inviting friends and family to share in this unique moment. The preparations for the party were a mix of laughter and little sprints around the house. While Emma decorated the living room with colorful balloons, John took charge of making a special cake. They were determined to create unforgettable memories. As the afternoon approached, the guests started to arrive. The house was filled with smiles and laughter, and James, wearing his little birthday hat, was the center of attention. He was delighted by the number of people around him, his eyes shining with happiness. "Happy birthday, James!" everyone shouted in unison as John held the baby and Emma lit the candle on the cake. When it was time to sing, everyone gathered around the table. James, a little confused, smiled at everyone while Emma and John exchanged knowing glances. The love and joy were palpable. 1, 2, 3, they counted, and everyone sang happy birthday. At the end, John helped James blow out the candle, and a wave of applause echoed through the room. The little one laughed, happy with the attention. The party continued with games, delicious food, and many presents. Friends brought toys and books, and Emma and John felt immensely grateful to have such wonderful people around them. As the party went on, Emma stepped aside for a moment to take in the scene. The sight of John playing with James and the laughter that filled the house moved her deeply. She realized that everything they had faced, the difficulties, the fears, and the challenges, had been worth it. They had become a united family, and each day was a gift. By the end of the party, as the guests began to leave, Emma and John sat together on the couch, exhausted but happy. James was asleep in their arms, and the quiet of the house blended with the soft sound of the baby's breathing. "We did it," Emma said, looking at John with a radiant smile. "Yes, we did," he replied, taking her hand. "And look at us now 1 year later. I'm so grateful for all of this." "So am I. I can't wait to see what else life has in store for us," Emma said, daydreaming about the future. With their eyes on little James, they knew that each day would bring new adventures and challenges, but they were ready to face them together, as they always had. The journey of parenthood was just the beginning of a beautiful chapter in their lives. As the night fell and the stars began to shine in the sky, Emma and John whispered a prayer of gratitude. They were united by a deep, unshakable love, ready for whatever was to come. And so, in that home filled with love and laughter, the story of their little family continued, full of promises and dreams as the future awaited them with open arms.